Welcome to Pixel Therapy, the video game podcast where we look at the games we play through the lens of the player. Or what you play is just as important as how you play it, and where emotional intelligence is a critical stat. I'm your co-host Jamie, pronoun she, they.
Hi, I am your co-host Spencer, pronouns they, them.
And this is Pixel Therapy. Rocking it 110% today, I
Yep,
think.
yes.
Yes.
Hi.
Let's let's start our episode as we usually do with our Patreon shoutouts. This is our special thank you to everyone who subscribed at our Patreon name in the credits tier. So that's a very the biggest of thank yous to Lindsay,
Mhm.
Pimhatai, CD Mess, Ava, Alexis, and Thomas. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much for continuing to support the podcast. We did share this news already with paid Patreon subscribers last week, but we are, for at least the foreseeable future, going to be discontinuing paid Patreon memberships at the end of May. We are so appreciative of everyone's support of us over the last few years, but some health, life, and work stuff has been compounding for a while now behind the scenes, and we need to simplify our output for a bit to keep this project sustainable for both Spencer and I. So that does mean there's going to be no regular stream schedule for the foreseeable future. That's kind of already been the state that we've been living in for a couple months now, but we're just, formalizing that. No regular stream schedule, and then no more exclusive paid monthly bonus episodes on Patreon. So if you're already a paying subscriber over there, we're going to do one more bonus episode for the month of May. And then after that, everything we release as Pixel Therapy is going to be public for everyone with no paywalls. We are still totally encouraging folks and want folks to subscribe to us over on Patreon. Please just do it for free. And that'll get you access to everything we make and any updates that we put out. So you can go over to patreon.com/pixeltherapypod, sign up for free. There's still going to be occasional bonus episodes when there's random stuff we want to talk about. And there's definitely going to be an ad hoc stream now and again. Although, that's one of the main areas that we've had to pull back on this year. But never say never. We've enjoyed streaming when we've had time to do it. So we'd still
Yeah.
love to do one or two here and there. But if you sign up for free over on Patreon, we'll let you know when any of that stuff is coming so you can tune in. So that's the best place to keep up with us. And now, after the end of May, entirely free over there.
Yeah.
If you're looking for other ways to support the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. And you can also check out and subscribe to the Pixel Therapy Pod YouTube channel, where we'll continue to post live recordings of all of our episodes. That's youtube.com/@pixeltherapypod. And you can click that bell icon to get notifications of our posts and activity over there. And of course, after all that, know that no matter how you choose to engage with us, we appreciate you being here all the same. All right.
Thanks.
It's time to get cozy, pull up an armchair, feel free to lie down on the couch, and let's talk about our feelings. Starting with you, Spencer. Please tell me and our listeners how you're doing today.
Hi. Sorry, I keep saying hi. Listen,
Hi.
everyone, just listen to me. No.
Mhm.
Uh,
Tell us what you've
I'm
been up
super
to.
jet lagged. I just got back from a 2-week trip to Tokyo, Japan, where I've had the time of my life. Um, and unfortunately, the result of that is I'm experiencing jet lag for what feels like the first time in a long time, because it is. I literally,
Feels that way, is that way.
I feel like I'm living in a simulation. I I slept, like, 12 hours last night, and then I had set my alarm because Jamie and I, we meet at a designated time to stream
Mhm,
our show,
mhm.
and so I felt an extreme wave of tiredness come over me a couple hours ago, and I thought, "I'll take a quick
Mhm,
couple blinks,
mhm.
little wink and a nod,
Little power nap.
and little power nap," and I set my alarm. My alarm went off, like, 15 minutes before we were set to meet up online. I thought I thought I was blinking, like, I was like, "I'm just gonna close my eyes for 1 second, I'm gonna blink, I'll open them up again, and then I'll get out of bed." I blinked, at least I thought I did, and I looked down at my phone, and there's, like, 3 texts from Jamie progressing from, "Hey, just checking in," to, like, "Okay, well, hope you're okay. I gotta log off now." And it was, like, 4:40, and an entire, additional hour had just slipped by before my eyes.
Uh-huh.
So, if I sound more unhinged than usual today, that's
It's because 'cause you're
why.
sleeping.
I'm probably sleeping. Apparently, last night, I fell asleep, or I don't know, Friday night, I don't know what day it is. I apparently fell asleep on the couch. My partner and our roommate put on the movie Mamma Mia, the
You were
ABBA
gonna say
musical.
film. You were gonna say we were gonna designate that as a film, but then you course
Listen.
corrected to movie.
The beloved movie film, Mamma Mia, starring, hey, it has Meryl Streep in it, so
It
it's basically
does.
a film.
I think that's all you need to be qualified as a film.
You really do. And allegedly, I was asleep on the couch, but for every song that came on, I mean, I love ABBA. Apparently,
Who doesn't?
I would be laying there singing, eyes
Uh-huh.
closed.
Mhm.
Mamma mia, here we go again. Totally, like, eyes closed, just singing
Sleep singing.
throughout the whole movie. The
You
next
also
morning,
had multiple back and forth texts with me during
oh
this
yeah, I was
window.
texting Jamie. No memory of that either. I wake up the next morning and my partner is like, "Yeah, you were, like, singing along, like, we were having whole conversations throughout the movie." No memory of that. I was like, "We watched Mamma Mia last night?" Like, I love that movie. So, that's where I'm at.
Mhm,
Thank you for your patience,
mhm.
all of you, but
Is
mostly
this gonna
Jamie.
be another, like, are you gonna wake up on, like, Tuesday and be like, "Wait, did we
I
record the
worked.
podcast? Did I
Yeah,
work?"
probably.
Like, whenever you finally come through the other side, you're gonna be like, "What happened for the last 4 days? I don't remember it."
I understand the plot of Severance now. I'm
Yeah.
living it.
Yeah, you're living it. You've got
Someone else is
you've got the
operating
sleep
the
version.
ship. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh.
Uh,
So
uh,
so here I am.
well,
What's good? What's
uh,
what's new?
what's new? Not too much. You were in Japan. We need to talk about that. Like,
Okay.
nothing's fucking going on with me that's all that exciting. I stayed here and went to work. You went to fucking Japan.
I
Say
did.
more, please. What was the coolest
I
thing you saw in
mean,
Japan
oh my god.
or did?
Everything. All
Okay.
of it.
What was the
Okay.
queerest thing you saw or did in Japan?
Okay, the queerest thing I
Yeah.
did and saw in Japan. So, in Nichome, which is a neighborhood, which is basically like the gayborhood. It's like, "Oh,
Okay.
you're gay?
Yeah.
You're going here." So there are 2 specifically trans masculine, they're called FTM bars. Like, literally,
Okay.
like, on the sign, it says FTM bars. I know that for a lot of folks, in the US, I think, I could totally understand, like, FTM is seen as sometimes, like, a problematic term because it's kind of the 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 acronym means female to male,
Yeah.
and it's fallen out of fashion as a way of referring to yourself as a trans masculine or trans man
Mhm.
person.
Mhm.
I used to use it, like, back in, like, 2015. I think it's just sort of, we've come to understand it as, like, a bit, like, still a bit, like, bio-essentialist.
Yeah.
So I'm using that term because that's the term used at these bars,
Mhm.
and, like, I have no problem with it, but I just wanna
Yeah.
clarify
Yeah.
that for anyone who's like, "Why are they saying FTM?" But
Good
there
a good point of
were,
clarification.
like, 2 specific FTM bars, and it's, like,
Uh-huh.
bars owned and operated and made for members of the trans masculine community to come hang out. Um, that was so cool to me because I feel like in the US, if there was a bar that was like, "We're an FTM bar," that would be, like, hate crimed within 30 seconds. Like,
It
not to,
might.
like, dunk on America, but, like, it just
Yeah.
feels like that being proudly displayed, and, um, I mean, hey, like, there are what, like 2 lesbian bars left in the US? Like, in general,
Right, yeah.
it's tough to foster that kind of community, of, you know, like, queer nightlife spaces in general are dwindling. So it
Mhm,
was very refreshing to see that this was a genre of hangout space that was available.
mhm.
And something I enjoyed in general about Japan is that, or Tokyo, to be specific, was that like many of the restaurants and bars that I visited, like the average size of most spaces were maybe like 6 to 8 chairs. Like,
That's
they were
wild.
these, like, tiny rooms, and there's
Yeah.
so many of them.
Mhm.
And specifically, these bars they're called shot bars, and the way they're set up is, like, it's just, like, a little spot. You're not meant to hang out there for, like, hours and hours. I mean, you can. We ended up a friend of mine and I went to one of these bars, called, Two's Cabin, and run by Masaki-san. He's a trans man living in Tokyo, and he has run his bar for 9 years, very successful. He's recently just opened a second FTM bar. Like, that's amazing to me that he's been doing this
Yeah,
for,
it's
like, a
pretty cool.
decade, and it's been so successful that he's able to expand. Like, love that for the
Yeah.
trans mass community in Tokyo. Um, and it's just an intimate space where you can I mean, we ended up, just passing Google Translate back and forth, having a great conversation, learned a bit about him, we talked, um, you know, he was sharing that, like, he has a wife, he has a kid. He's like, "Yeah, my brother's gay, so he donated sperm, and, like, me and my wife had a baby, it's awesome." Um, I'm just
Aw.
like, "Well, thank you for sharing, and also love
Yeah.
that journey for you."
Yeah.
Um, Also was straight up like, "I'm worried about y'all in the US." I was like, "Yeah, thanks. That's
Yeah.
real."
Yeah,
And,
we all should
like,
be.
we should be,
Yeah.
and, like, dude was straight up like, he said, to us over the course of the night that, like, he hasn't always felt welcome as a
Mm,
trans person in Japan, but at the end of the day, like, he's built a strong community, and operating his bar has felt like a place where he's been able to create a place for community to gather and thrive, and that has been enough. And clearly, like, he's still been able to build a great life that he's proud of and happy to be a part of, and so, like, I think it was very we could relate to that, of course, with how things are here in the US too. It's like we trans people thrive in spite of so many obstacles or people who have assumptions about us or hate us for whatever reason. And so it was just very cool to be like reaching across borders and language barriers and just having such an authentic connection and like because of this shared experience of us both being like trans masculine, it just felt like immediately we were like friends. Like it was
yeah.
so cool.
That's really special.
Thank you. Yeah, like oh my god, that was like one of my favorite things that happened. I'd never yeah, I'd never really experienced or seen a, like, trans masculine specific catered space, so that was, like, really, really chill and cool. And, of course, like, anyone is welcome
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Um,
If you're cis, they kick you in the face.
yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's not as if men need more spaces to gather. I'm just like, like, I think in
This is the
like,
part
we
of the
can
podcast where we reveal you're a hardcore men's rights activist.
oh my god. I guess I just mean, like, there's certainly more we can sit and unpack about, like, men's spaces and what they mean and
Mhm.
stuff that goes beyond anyway, I think it's fine to say, I thought it was
Everybody needs a
cool.
space. Everybody
Everyone
deserves
needs
a
a space.
space where they
Yes,
feel like they
yes.
can be fully themselves and comfortable Except for Nazis. Except for Nazis. But everybody
Literally.
else deserves a space.
I just don't want the tender queers to come for me. Anyway, sorry, not to be I'm gonna, I'm pissing off everybody. I'm jet lagged, okay?
Spencer's asleep
Like,
right now, so just don't mind
whatever I
anything that they
say,
say. Please
don't hold it
you can
against
send your
me.
feedback to
Oh
Sleep
my god.
Spencer.
Yeah.
What's your alter ego's name?
Rekneps. That's
Re-
Spencer backwards.
okay, Rekneps. I thought maybe we'd go with like a Mamma Mia reference since your alter ego is obsessed.
Yeah. Oh my god, clearly, what the hell?
um
Um,
no, but thanks for sharing that story. That seems like it was really cool.
so Jamie, we're going to Japan.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm manifesting it
You wanna
together.
go through this again, this part of the experience? The jet lag? Did you have jet lag
Oh,
when you went there? Like, did the adjusting to Tokyo time was that difficult?
you know, um, so, the first week I was there, I was working, and then I stayed another week just on I took some time off and was like, "I'm here, I'm gonna just, be here,"
Mhm,
so that first week, I yes, there were definitely moments where I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so tired," but I almost feel like because I was in an unfamiliar, excuse me, place, and because I had to be, on for work, it almost felt like I just sort of was, powering through it, and I was so excited to
mhm.
be there that it just, it it was, fine. But I feel like now that I'm home, I don't know if it's, psychological, it's, because I'm in my normal environment, my body is just, involuntarily relaxing or something, and I just
Uh-huh.
can't deal. It's just so much harder to fight it off,
Yeah,
and maybe it's just compounding exhaustion from the past 2 weeks is just all
yeah.
hitting at once,
Could be, could be. Mm. But
but
we're kind of creating a microcosm of your work stress here, where you were like, "Just hit record, and I'm
do
gonna
it!
do it. I'm gonna do it.
I'm
Just hit
powering
record, and I'm
through.
gonna, like, power through, and hopefully I won't fall asleep before we stop recording."
Listeners need us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to frame it. Let's talk about some
Uh,
video games. Enough about your
okay.
fucking Japan trip. Jeez, what
Yes,
did you do
jeez.
anything game related while you're in Japan, though?
Um,
Yes, at first.
I I went to Akihabara, which
Mhm.
is
I mean, aside from the fact that literally every picture you sent me, I was like, "That's Persona. That looks like Persona 5.
oh my
That looks like
god.
Persona 5." Like,
Yeah,
it was
something
like
we learned is that Persona 5 or Persona this Persona series in general
yeah.
is the details are accurate AF.
Yeah, despite the cartoonish, like, anime aesthetic,
Yeah,
like, they actually really fucking capture the vibe.
especially, the train stations and stuff, it's like,
Mm,
I would go
mhm.
into these stations and I'd be like, "Oh my god, I recognize I've been here in the world of Persona, I recognize this." Um, the depiction of Shibuya Crossing and
Yeah.
the train stations, I was like, "Oh my god, I can already navigate this. I've navigated this already. I don't need these signs to tell me anything."
Mhm.
That was cool. Yeah, we did learn that. Um, I forget what I was saying.
You started to say something about
Oh,
Akihabara?
Akihabara, yes. So it's called, the Electric City, and it's all of there's so many arcades,
Mhm,
there's lots of, shops where you can shop for, figures, anime and gaming figures and merch,
mhm.
there's a bunch of, gachapon machines, there's this one spot I went in, and it was just rows and rows and different floors full of gachapon. Those are,
That's wild.
those machines that have the, balls inside of them, and you put in
Mhm.
coins, you
The, like,
turn the
dispenser
lever.
machines, yeah.
Right, and they dispense, toys and charms
Mhm.
and things like that. So I, wandered through with my coins, and it was just I sent Jamie this video because it would be like, "Oh, here's, a Hello Kitty one, and here's, one that is, cats that are carrying food, and, here's, these cute teddy bears." And then I saw one, I got closer, and it was all Billy Joel merch. Yeah. "This is the Billy Joel Gachapon." I was like, "Billy Joel? Why is William Joel here in the middle of, like, this Gachapon?"
What's he doing here?
Like, so random.
That is
Um,
super random.
so obviously I got one.
Yeah, what do they look like?
They were like little pins, and each one was a different album cover.
Okay. Okay.
So it was cute. My partner's mom is a big Billy Joel fan, so I got one so I could send it to her as like a
Nice.
fun little souvenir.
Nice.
But yeah, I it's funny, like a lot of the gaming, I think like the gaming merch or experiences that I wanted were more like indie games or like RPGs or franchises that are more like what we're into, like,
Mhm.
uh, you know, if I can't think of an example, like Persona series,
Mhm.
what else do we like? Other
Lots
stuff,
plenty lots of things.
lots of
Too
things.
many to list.
I found that a lot of the gaming stores that I was going into, maybe I was looking in the wrong place, so if anyone has recs, like, definitely let us know for our
Mhm.
next time, but a lot of what I was seeing was, like, Pokemon, um, Kirby, like, a lot of, like, Nintendo, like Mario, it was either, like, Nintendo stuff, or, like, I can't think of a it was like, largely Nintendo that I was seeing,
Yeah,
so I don't
I
know if
mean,
maybe
they're a pretty big deal.
yeah, I guess so. Like, it's where they're headquartered.
Yeah.
So, I found some little things here and there, but I think I would need to dedicate more time to really seeking out, like, even a lot of the gaming figures that I saw,
Mhm.
was mostly, like, Nintendo stuff or,
Yeah.
like, um, um, anime games that I wasn't familiar with, so wah, wah, but but
Well,
it's
I
fine.
mean, you still had an amazing trip. It's not
Yeah, yeah, uh,
you just yeah, yeah. Alright, let's talk about some games
yeah,
because somehow you managed to
let's.
squeeze in playing some of those
I did.
over the last few
I'm
weeks.
dedicated.
Yeah, Spencer's willing to really sacrifice a lot for this. Um, we
I love
played
this theme though that you orchestrated.
the theme for
Like,
the episode.
yeah, so you played 2 games, but they have parallels, interesting
They They
parallels.
do have interesting parallels. So this week, yeah, we as Spencer just scooped me there. We played 2 games, not just one. We played 2 games that are both puzzler mystery games about houses.
Wow.
That was the sort of I mean, it was an intentional theme to bring these 2 games together. But so we are going to be talking today about Your House and not Your House like where you live, Your House the game.
We're in your house.
It was very confusing every time we talked about the game. Also, I kept thinking it was called Our House. As a whole thing. And also, the game Blueprints, which also is not quite what it sounds like. Not blueprints, BLUEPRINTS, but blue space prince, PRINCE, as in a royal ruler or son of the royal ruler.
That took me so long to like, I was describing blueprints to my partner, and
Mhm.
he was like, "Oh, like blueprints because it's a house?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, that didn't even occur to me."
Well, you were asleep, so
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna start talking about Your House, and then we'll move on to Blueprints, and then we'll, see if there's any themes and stuff across the 2 games that
Mm,
we want to unpack it all. So kicking it off with Your House, this is probably the game that people are a little bit less likely to have heard of. Blueprints has kind of been popping off in games media lately, if, you follow that at all, which you probably do to some extent if you're here listening to us. But Your House is a much smaller game by comparison. According to the Steam page description, Your House is a quote narrative puzzle thriller that blurs the lines between games and books, reality and fiction, puzzles, and storytelling. The game released a little over a month ago at the end of March, and it's available on Mac and PC through Steam for $9.99 or as a mobile game on iOS and
oh,
Android, where it is free on both platforms.
oh
Today
shit.
I learned.
Whoops.
Um, the developer is Patronus, I put "and" here, but I think they also go by "e." Patrones Escondites. They're based in Spain, and I kinda wanna read their bio from their website 'cause I
Ooh,
think
okay.
it's kind of amazing. So, first of all, you go to their website, you click on the About Us, and they have the picture that's there. I'll paint it for you. It's, 2 people that you can only see from about the stomach down. Their
Okay.
heads are obscured by, like, a white bulbous, like, modern art project. It looks like white glass bulbs all stacked together, so you can't see either of their faces. And they're standing on, like, a set of stairs so that their heads are in kind of roughly the same place. One person's wearing a skirt and sandals, and the other person's wearing a t-shirt and, like, chinos and sneakers. And it says, "Storytelling explorers, game artisans." And so here's their bio.
Hmm,
"We want to see you enjoy yourself. We want to make you smile, give you an aha or a damn it moment. That's what really matters to us. We are into comics, pins, and Negronis, but mostly telling stories
nice.
and listening to music on shuffle. We probably play less than we should, it's true. Just as true as the fact that our minds write checks our bodies can no longer cash, or that we're often running late. We have no talent for singing, programming, or saying gnocchi. And we're not great at doing mainstream things, but we know how to cook paella, take care of the details, and build a team of experts in singing, programming, and saying gnocchi. We like to do what we like. We are small but brave, or just nuts. We are from everywhere and nowhere. We have a past and multiple professional lives. We haven't had time to rob a bank, but we have
Oh my
sunk
god.
several companies.
Oh my
Now we
god.
now we are what we always wanted to be, craftsmen and explorers, always looking for new ways to tell stories in the confines of video games since 2017 until we get it right. I
Oh
just
my god.
thought that was a really
Iconic.
yeah, I thought it was a great bio. I look up a lot of, game companies' websites and, like, about us pages and stuff, and this is, like, one of the
Yeah,
most creative, fun ones that I've ever read, and I feel like it really captures who they are. So
totally.
I'd never heard of these folks before. They've made a couple of other games, but, like, pretty small developer. In your house, you play as a young girl named Debbie. On the day of her 18th birthday, she receives a mysterious postcard with a key that says "Happy Birthday" and decides to run away to the address provided. There, she finds a mysterious mansion with the remnants of a life, but no one is home, and she begins to stay there, which is bold, exploring
Yeah.
the mysteries of the house as she tries to learn more about the owner of the house and understand why she was invited. So, Spencer, that is the premise of your house.
Mhm.
How much of it have you played? Would you play it on? And what do you think of the game?
I finished your house
Mhm.
with the help of many guides and walkthroughs.
And how long did
I
that take you?
probably like 4
Mhm.
hours
Yeah, it's pretty short.
because of this because of the aforementioned guides and walkthroughs. I think without the guides and walkthroughs, probably like 30 hours. Like, I realized, first of all, I think I've accepted that I'm just not good at puzzles.
Mhm.
And this game had a lot of
It's
things
brave
that,
to admit
uh thank
live
you, I'm very
on the
brave.
podcast. Very
I'm
brave.
so brave.
You're very brave.
Like, this game had a lot of things that, uh, create a not good time for Spencer, which
Mm.
is 1, lack of maps,
Yeah, no maps.
2, like, lack of obvious, indication of direction, like, basically, it's a book you can play is, like, the
Mhm.
game.
Mhm.
So you're navigating by, like, clicking on word like, it'll be like, "Debbie looked down the hallway and realized that there was a door to the bathroom," and then bathroom is bolded, so if you click on that, you can enter the bathroom.
Mhm.
And it's like it's basically like reading and remembering, it's, like, too much, like, in the dome that I've gotta keep track of in terms of where I am in the house, so it was like, you know, lack of maps, lack of orientation, combined with really freaking difficult puzzle scenarios that involved backtracking and
Uh-huh.
remembering things and just, it was a lot. So, all that being said, thanks to the world of the internet, I still
Mhm.
got through it.
Mhm.
I enjoyed how it was put together and, like, kind of the inventiveness of the mechanics and premise. Did I have fun? Um, Not so much, but that's okay. I experienced something, and I
You
learned
did.
about myself. I learned to accept part of myself, so thanks,
Yeah.
game.
So this was a journey for you and self-acceptance.
Literally, yeah. I was like, "Man, I wish Jamie was here because I can't do this by myself." Last year, we played Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which is a
Mhm.
a similarly impenetrable puzzle game, um, and
I would say I think Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is, like, several leagues more complex, uh,
true,
and, the difficulty is quite a bit
true.
higher than
That just speaks to how much I suck at puzzle games because this and that were basically the same thing to me.
well, yeah, I mean, we can talk about it a little bit. I this it was funny because we also played Blueprints, which we're gonna talk about more in a bit, and Blueprints is kind of, uh if you've been following any of the information about Blueprints, it's a game that could take you, like, 15 hours, or you could spend, like, 200 hours with it, like,
Wow, who are those
there's
people?
there are people, and they've got notebooks full. There's dozens of us. Um, um, but it's the layers of complexity are there's a lot of layers of complexity to Blueprints. It's a very complicated game. At one point after I was playing Blueprints for about a week, then I picked up Your House and started playing it, expecting Your House to be much more straightforward
Mm,
and simple of a puzzle game. That was just how I had it's How Long to Beat said it was like a 3-hour game.
mm,
It presents as more of a visual novel than a puzzle
mhm.
game. So I was expecting the puzzles to be pretty light, not too challenging, and I did, like, within, like, 15, 20 minutes of picking it up and started playing, I texted you and I was like, "Not me, like, having put 30 hours into Blueprints and, like, mostly doing fine." And, like, I'm stumped on the second puzzle in Your House.
Literally.
Um, but I do think some of the stumpiness is that the way the puzzles work in Your House is I think the puzzles are a little bit obtuse in Your
Mhm.
House, and I think it might be less to do with, like, the actual puzzle that they're asking you to solve is difficult versus the amount of context clue and information you get for, like, how to solve that puzzle is pretty minimal.
Yeah,
So, you're not really teed up in any way for a lot of the things that it throws at you, and you just have to, like, have the idea on your own to try a thing, and
yeah.
if you don't have that idea, there isn't a lot within the game itself that will kind of help you get on the right direction. I found,
Yeah, like
like sorry, say
no, yeah,
go.
like, honestly, it reminded me almost less of a straight up, like, puzzle challenge and more of a I Spy style,
Mm,
like, how might you I'm sorry, I Spy is a series of children's books that, uh, show, like, pictorial puzzles where it's about, like, sharply s pull like, finding an element on a page
mhm,
and interacting with it and
mhm,
identifying dense, like, images and finding objects within it, and that's really what it felt like a lot of these puzzles boiled down to is, like, looking at images in this literal book, like you're playing through like a choose your own adventure book, and then thinking of clicking on the right element or the right image to
yeah,
uncover something that's hidden in the page. It felt much more like that's really what they all boiled down to, rather than like a true, logic puzzle
yeah,
or mathematical equation or things like that. Um, and sort of just remembering which page to turn back to click into, or even, like, things on the page that you'd written off, like, because it's like a book, there'll be, like, a title and maybe, like, a little illustration at the top of the page, and then words that are bolded and then like an illustration. And it's like a couple times I would exhaust clicking on everything else and then I'd realize, oh, that little illustration at the top of the page, that's not anything in most scenarios. If I click
mhm,
on that, suddenly it's interactable. So it's just
yeah,
kind of like playing with your expectations and
yeah.
sometimes it would just be me clicking randomly all over the page until something happens, which is not
Yeah.
very finesse that's worthy of me.
Yeah. But you played this on Steam Deck, right?
I did, like an insane person because
I
it's
also played it on Steam Deck. Yeah, it's not really formatted for
it's
Steam Deck.
much more mouse and
Yeah,
point and click style, but
I
I did.
I think I think
Yeah,
the having now understood that the game is available on iOS and Android, again, for free, I
yeah.
think that's the way it's designed to be played, and that makes the fact that so much of the exploration comes down to you clicking on things
Mm,
make a lot more sense. Like,
mm,
think if you were playing this on your phone and you're just tapping aspects of the image to see what it uncovers, I feel like it immediately becomes way more intuitive than it was for us playing on a Steam Deck
yeah,
where we're looking for the thing that we're looking for a visual cue of what we need to click on,
yeah.
and so to, like, get us to, like, move the mouse over there and click on it, versus someone playing on their phone where they're gonna be way more inclined to just tap away. Um,
Yes.
so
Mm,
I think if folks wanna try this game, I think that's the way to do it, and honestly, with it being free, I know we've maybe been a little bit negative on the game, but I do think that the whole setup of a book that is a mystery is really cool. Like, I think there's a lot that they do in this
mhm.
game mechanically that's really interesting. So, like, let's talk about some of the positives of the game because I do have mixed feelings on the game overall as a whole, but I think they're doing some really interesting things. The navigation of the house, like Spencer was saying, I mean, for you said because there was no visual map or visual element to that, like, you struggled with that personally. For me, I found the house navigation really cool. I thought that was, like, a
Mm,
really interesting way to do it, that they'll kind of, like, list the rooms. You have to, like, build the sense of the house in your head, to know
mhm.
where you're going through the different rooms, to know what's in each room, and then as you explore and you, like, find new rooms, and you're doing all of this through what looks like a page of a book, and, like, as you go into a new room, then it'll be like, Debbie went over here and the phone was in the corner and this lamp was on and there's a table here and it's got the things and then you can click on the image of the table and you can see more detail of that or and after you click on the image and you see more detail when you come back to the page in the book now it has more written out about what the table looks like and what Debbie found
Yeah,
there and it was just such a unique way to set up gameplay mechanics and to explore in that way, it really evoked for me, what it was like reading, like, choose your own adventure books
mm.
or even, like, Encyclopedia Brown as a kid. Did you read Encyclopedia Brown?
Yeah, those were, like, children's, like, novel, right?
Yeah, but they
I
were like I don't know if they were all like this, but I remember I had one in particular where each chapter was like a different little mystery. He was basically Sherlock Holmes, but he was a kid.
Yeah,
And it would
yeah.
set up the whole story and, like, tell you what had happened, and then it would get to the end of it, and they'd be like and then Encyclopedia was like, "I know what happened here," and it's like, "Do you know what he said?" And it
Mm.
would, like, prompt you to try to see if you could figure out what the solution was, but then you could flip to the back of the book to find the answer. And
Nice.
there was something about, yeah, putting this whole game into the context of a written, like, story where you're actually you see the chapter header at the beginning.
Mhm.
They use the chapter headers of, like, as you walk into each room, it's like a new chapter header at the top, but, like, seeing the actual text on the page, and using that as the, like, primary design element really evoked for me what it felt like to read books like that as a kid. And
Yeah,
there was something really cool about that experience, even if I don't know if all of the puzzle elements came together. I also really
totally.
like the artwork. The
Mhm.
all of the art is done in this kind of like 60s, 1960s, 1970s comic book art style with like kind of the pointillism. Um, uh, I think and it's like the bold colors and the dark
Mhm.
black and
Like
the high
this pop
contrast
art kind of
images. Yeah,
vibe.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it just looks really cool. They integrate, there's some motion on the screen, but you're not like again, because the way everything is moving and happening in the game is happening from the page, it's not like you have a character that you're moving around the screen, but sometimes you'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go up the stairs, and it'll just like show a quick clip of Debbie running up the stairs.
Yeah.
Um, so they use animation and motion that way to like transition between different book pages and keep you engaged in that regard. Um, I was surprised by the amount of sound design that there was in it, and there's even
Mhm.
some voice acting for certain
Mhm.
moments. Debbie gets some mysterious calls, at different points in the game, and, the audio actually plays out like a voice actor reading the lines of what Debbie's hearing over the phone. So, it surprised me with some of those design elements, and I think that all works really well.
Mhm.
Um, Unfortunately, the narrative is another kind of weak point of this for me. Knowing that the developers are based in Spain, I do wonder how much of the what felt like just kind of slightly off writing might have been translation
Mhm.
issues. I don't know if the
Yeah.
game was originally created in English or not. I just don't know enough about how the game was made, but I suspect that that could be part of why some word choices just feel like really kind of like it's just written very on the nose with some odd word choices throughout that don't feel quite right or don't quite flow. Um, and so I wonder if some of that comes down to translation. But even with that removed, um, I was interested in the narrative enough to carry me through I think my playtime ended up being like 4.5, maybe
Mm.
5 hours total. And I was engaged enough to carry me through that. But by the end of the story, I was like, wait, but like I definitely had a few like plot hole questions, and I don't know if like the end of the story wrapped up in a way that was like it was fine, but I wasn't, like, "Oh my gosh, that was so
It's a
satisfying."
little too neat.
It was quite neat, and just a little I mean, yeah, it kinda stretches belief
Yeah.
in some regards.
I think, yeah, the tone it struck was kinda nostalgic for
Mhm,
me, like, it
mhm,
it definitely felt like reading kind of an early reader kinda mystery, like, I kinda felt like I did when I was a kid reading these stories like Nancy Drew or, um, like the what was it? What was that series? The Magic Treehouse? The one where the
that might be a thing.
anyway, just these series of children's
For some reason, I'm thinking of the Boxcar Kids,
stories
but I don't think that's what you're suggesting.
where, like, it was a short, quick read and, like, the language style is pretty straightforward and
Mhm,
simple, and maybe some of the plot threads were a little too, convenient, but it was still, like, a pleasant ride, and
yeah,
and the stakes weren't too high.
no.
It kinda felt like that, and if that wasn't what the developers were going for, I'm sorry. But, like, even though there were some parts where I was like, but what about well, okay." Like, it was still, like,
Yeah,
fun. I enjoyed the tone that it sorta struck.
yeah. Um, I agree with all of that. One other thing that I wanna shout out that the game does have, although I think it could do a better job of elevating this, I'm curious if you notice this at all. The game does have hints built right
Mhm.
into it. Were you using those?
Oh, yeah. I was like at the very
So
first puzzle, I was like, "Pause. Are there hints? Oh, thank god, there's hints."
Okay, so you were using hints and then found you also had to go out to an external site for guidance.
What like, throw me under the bus, but
No,
yes.
I'm sorry, I'm just clarifying.
Drag me.
Um, I had, kind of the opposite experience where I looked up, some guidance on one of the puzzles because I just needed, like, pointed in the right direction, and about halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way through the game, I happened to
Oh,
hit
damn.
pause and realized that there were hints built right into the game,
Mm,
and then used those when I got stumped for the rest of the game, and I thought, for me, the hints were pretty helpful, and I appreciated that they had something that wasn't, uh, like, part of what's fun with a puzzle game is actually solving the puzzle
mm,
yourself, and even though I have no qualms with pulling up a guide if I need one and if I'm not having fun and feel like I'm beating my head against a wall, I'd much rather, get to the conclusion on my own, so I thought the hints were a nice, middle ground to
mm,
and they kind of, like, get progressively, like, more excuse me, get progressively more specific too. So when you
mm.
initially open a hint, it's tailored to the moment that you're in, and it'll say something like pretty vague. And then if you feel like that's still not helpful, you can keep going. And there was, in most cases, like anywhere from 3 to 5 degrees of hints that you could work through that would help kind of point you in the right direction of what to look at or what to try. Um,
Yeah.
So, I appreciated those. I found those helpful, and I'm glad that they built them in. I think that's something all puzzle games should have as just, like, a
Totally.
helpful accessibility feature.
Yeah.
So, props to them for including those right in their game.
Yeah. No, I do agree, like, I appreciated that the hints were actually helpful.
Mhm.
So for smarter people than me, I'm sure they, like, really were great.
Oh god. I did not set this episode up to drag you. You agreed to play these games for the record. This is
No, I know, I'm not, that wasn't directed at you. I just yeah, again, learned things about myself.
Any final thoughts on your house?
Um, I love that there's a free version on mobile, like, definitely
Yeah.
would play, like,
Yeah.
check that shit out.
I think that really recontextualizes the overall experience of the game too. I even, $10 is not an insane barrier to entry, but there is something about paying the $10, playing this on a Steam Deck. I came in with a different expectation set than I think I would have had if I'd gotten this for free on my smartphone. And I do think as like a free mobile game, this is great and people should check it out. I'm a little less inclined to be like, yeah, definitely go spend $10 and play this. I'm like, if
Mhm,
you think it sounds interesting despite the flaws and you wanna play it on Steam or PC, then, go in, like, with some caution that it has its issues, but it runs fine, runs well and is, like, a pretty, like, maybe unimpactful is the most harsh thing that I could call it, but it's, like,
mm,
not a bad way to spend an afternoon.
mm-mm.
But free on mobile, I think it's a no-brainer and definitely worth trying. Um, just, for the art and design and the cool mechanic of it
Yeah.
all. Yeah. Awesome. So now let's talk about Blueprints. Similarly, Blueprints is a game about exploring a mansion that has been bequeathed to you. But in this case, the who and the why, at least at the beginning, seem a bit more straightforward. In Blueprints, you play as a young boy named Simon Jones, who finds himself the new owner of the enormous and historied Mount Holly estate, which has been left to him by his recently deceased great uncle, Herbert Sinclair. And as a stipulation of his will, Herbert has left Simon with the instruction that he must locate a hidden 46th room within the mansion in order to claim and secure his inheritance. However, the Mount Holly estate is no normal piece of architecture. Laid out on a grid of 45 rooms, the mansion is designed to fully reset overnight, with room types and locations changing each day that Simon explores. Additionally, all tools and materials that Simon gains over the course of each day must be left behind when he departs the mansion for the evening, which adds a bit of a roguelike element to what is otherwise primarily a first person strategy puzzle game. The game released a few weeks ago on April 10th and has received a ton of positive critical attention. It's currently sitting at a 90 on OpenCritic and has already been getting a lot of buzz about being a quote game of the year contender.
Damn.
It's playable on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S, and is available on both PlayStation Plus Extra and Game Pass if you subscribe to either of those. Its developer Dogubomb describes itself as a quote independent film and game developer, and Blueprints is in particular the brainchild of Doggybomb's director Tonda Ross, who began conceptualizing the game as far back as 2016 and created much of it on his own, spanning 8 years of active
Mm,
development. In a recent interview with Anthony Franklin II for Vice, Tonda shared that the game takes inspiration from board games like Dominion and Ascension,
mm,
atmospheric exploration games like Myst and Riven, puzzle games like The Witness and Inside, and even his
mm,
own background working in film. And I would say that you can totally feel all those inspirations in the final genre bending product. So,
totally.
Spencer, what do you think of Blueprints? What are you playing on? How much have you played? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so, similarly, I'm playing it sorry, I don't know if I mentioned specifically, but no, I did. I both of these games I've been playing on Steam
Mhm.
Deck. Um, I'm, like,
Your
20
favorite console.
hours my favorite console. I'm, like, 20 hours into Blueprints, I'm nowhere near completing it. But that being said, the things that I feel like in playing these 2 games side by side,
Mhm.
it's like all the things that were working against me in your house, in Blueprints, which is arguably a much more difficult game, I'm finding that I'm having a lot more fun, and I'm
Good.
honestly feeling like what the difference is that something about a roguelike really itches something. Maybe it's the ADHD in me,
Mm.
but this like, I think for the same reason that, like, Hades wasn't a game I typically would wanna play. I don't really
Mhm.
like fighting or, like, having things coming at me, or, like, tough battles and losing over and over again. But I loved Hades, I think because of that roguelike element where it was, like, encouraging me to start over, and if things were getting tough or I was getting backed into a corner, I could just start fresh.
Mhm.
Um, Blueprints, I think, is doing the same thing where, like, it's making me enjoy a puzzle game because of this aspect of it where, I can just keep redrafting and trying again, um I don't know, something about it, it's like the puzzles are hard, but I'm not discouraged or I'm not getting frustrated and feeling dumb. It's like I'm just sort
Mhm.
of like, "Hey, the game is acknowledging that I, as the protagonist, am like this 15-year-old little boy. So, like, I'm just a kid, like, it's fine."
I'm just a sleepy little boy.
I'm
Have
just
mercy
trying
on
my
me.
best. I'm in my little tent outside. I'm going to bed, and I will be back tomorrow. So, goodbye. I'm having a good time, but I feel like I've been lightly spoiled in the sense that, like, I've seen some chatter online of, like, how to get to the end, and I'm, like, reading the steps, and I'm like, "Girl, what?" Did you finish this game?
Um, yeah, so I am, probably about 35, maybe almost 40 hours of time in
Okay.
Blueprints. I did finally last night on, like, day 35, because the game has, like, in-game days that go by.
Mhm.
Um, I think I was, like, on day 35, I did finally roll credits
Oh,
on the
shit.
game.
Nice.
However, what that means is that I found room 46.
Uh-huh.
You do not have to by any means stop playing the game there. What I think Blueprints does really well is that there are a ton of, it's an onion of mysteries,
Mm.
and you keep
Mhm.
uncovering layer after layer. And so rolling credits does not need to be the end of the game. I kind of thought that it would be for me. I thought, once I get there, I'm gonna
Yeah?
be done.
Uh-huh.
And I kept playing for like 3 more hours last night after rolling
Whoa.
credits. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to become one of those people who's
Mhm.
got 100 plus hours into the game and like 20 pages of notes, but
Yeah.
I do already have like 15 pages of notes.
Hey, well.
Um, and I am very up and down on this game.
Mm.
So, speaking about it, like, mechanically, because I think this will help explain why I'm so up and down on it. I mean, first of all, I'm not as much into roguelikes,
Mm.
as you're articulating.
Mhm.
I hate feeling like I've lost progress.
Mhm.
Um, that just, like that will turn me off of a game so fast if I feel like I'm having to repeatedly do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And I do think that that element of blueprints is both a blessing and a curse depending on where you're at in the game, like in your game time and what you're trying to accomplish. So, the way the game works is that you start every day. It's first person perspective. You start every day in the entrance hall of the house, which is one of the 45 slots. Um when you open up your kind of like mini map of the house, your blueprint of the house, what is it? It's 9 rows of 5
Mhm.
squares
Mhm.
to get the 45 total rooms, and you can see the entrance where you're at, and you can see, 9 tiers away, like in the ninth tier of the ninth line of the house, the
Mhm.
antechamber. And it tells you that you need to get to the antechamber in order to get to room 46. So the entrance has 3 doors off of it. Everything is the shape of a square. So it's got a door to it treats it like the house is facing you, like you're facing the north if you look towards the end of the house. So there's a doorway to the north, there's a doorway to the east, there's a doorway to the west. And when you approach a door, the game does some like behind the scenes number generation stuff, and basically you roll or you draw 3 tiles. each tile being a different type of room.
Mm.
You might draw the den, you might draw the parlor, you might draw the billiard room, you might draw the lavatory, all these different rooms that you that exist in your draw pool. The game itself has I mean, I'm still learning and finding new rooms, but I think maybe at the beginning it kinda sets you up that there's, like, what, 50-ish? No, sorry.
Mm.
There's, like, maybe there's more than that. There's, like, 80, maybe? Trying to remember what it is in your initial book. There's a lot. There's more than 45 that are
Uh,
possible to draw,
okay, yeah.
um, right from the beginning, and then as you go, you get even more rooms into your
Mm.
draft pool. But basically, as soon as you approach a door, it's like drawing 3 tiles. It actually kind of reminds me if anybody has played, Betrayal at House of the Hill, the board game,
Uh-huh, yeah,
which is a tile
yeah,
drawing game like that
yeah,
where you're actually building the house as you go. Very
yes.
similar to that. So you draw your tiles, and in each of the rooms that you draw, they have their own predetermined door locations on the room. Some of them are dead ends, like, the lavatory doesn't have any doors out of it, it's just one door in. Of course, you
Mhm.
don't usually have multiple doors in a bathroom. Why
You
would you want
don't?
that? Yeah, you don't really want someone sneaking up from behind when you're sitting on the toilet. Um, so depending on what you draw, there's quite a few rooms that don't cost anything to play. And you don't get to turn the room. So when you draw the room, it has a preset
Mm,
orientation, and you have to look at it on your map and decide, like, do I want to place this here? Because maybe maybe this is a room that has 2 doors, but if I place it in this specific spot, the one of the 2 doors is going into a wall, and so it's effectively a dead end. So you're
yeah,
making decisions about what you're going to draft based on that factor, like which way are the doors facing? Is this going to let me continue my progress through the house? And you're also making the decisions of what to draft based on the resources that you can get from the room and the resource cost of playing the room. So, like I said, about half the rooms don't have any resource cost associated, but there are quite a few rooms that are considered special rooms that do cost gems, which is one of the resources that you can find in the game to play. Um, Different rooms might give you gems, and they will say that, like, usually if it's a static resource gain that you can get from the room, it will say that right on the tile before you draw it. So, like, there's a room called the Nook that always has 1 key in it. There's a room
mm,
called the
mhm,
Den that always has 1 gem in it. You can find upgrade discs in different rooms, and if you use those at a terminal, it'll randomly select a room that you can upgrade in some fashion. So, you might get an upgrade that maybe now the den has multiple gems, or the den has gems and something else. It presents different, and then permanently that will be what happens when you draw the den. But as a baseline, you always get that initial resource by going into the room.
yeah.
Feel like I'm losing my train of thought. So you were you gonna say something?
No,
Save me
yeah,
from myself?
drafting rooms. I mean, that's what like, that's where I mean, maybe I just need to keep playing and it will become clear,
Uh-huh.
but that's kinda why where I keep getting stuck.
Mhm.
Well, it's funny because at first I thought when the game was like, "You have to discover the 46th room," I
Mhm.
thought that that meant that I had to, like, row by row, fully full in, because
Mm.
it's, like, rows of 5, so it's, like, 5, 5, 5, all the way up to 40 45 plus
Mhm.
1 for the 46th room, and I thought, like, I could only win the game if I had every single square on the board filled in because like, if I had 46 squares. So I would very quickly, like, after, like, row 2, I would get stuck, I would literally get stuck because, like Jamie was saying, it's like some rooms only have 1 door or they have doors going in directions that aren't up. So I would get to the point where I couldn't build anymore because there were no doorways to go through, and I would be like,
Mm.
"Well, okay, I'm like 15 rooms in and I've gotta end the day because I can't I either don't have enough key," like, sorry, as you continue, it's like more and more often you'll encounter like, "Oh, the door is locked, so you need a
Mhm.
key to go through it, but I don't have any keys, so I guess I'm stuck for today."
Mhm.
Uh is that normal? Like,
Yeah.
is it kind of luck to get I'm like, I haven't managed to figure out a way to get past, like, 5
Mm,
rows,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, so this is where I think the the RNG elements of the game, the random number generator, like
Mm,
the randomness of the draft pool is both and the roguelite element of the game is both a blessing and a curse. Um, because it is both true, and this is what was so infuriating when I was in kind of like the maybe 17-18 day range up until I
mhm,
hit like day 28-29. I was having a bad fucking time with
mhm,
this game for like a good 10-day stretch
yeah.
in there, and it was because I felt like I could see what I needed to do, but did not feel like I could actually do it because I felt like I kept getting screwed by the random elements of the
Mm,
game.
mhm.
And when you go on the subreddits and, like, you're looking for, like, I don't want spoilers, I don't want anybody to tell me how to solve the puzzle, but
Sure,
I'm
yeah.
looking for, like, just tips and tricks, and people will
Yeah.
be like, "Well, just draft rooms so you get the resources that you need." And it's like, "Well, if I don't fucking draw the room that has the resource that I need, how
Yeah,
do I get it?"
right.
Um, but it is true that if you continue to push through that, you will start to see the matrix a little bit. And also, I don't know if, like, actually in the back end, if the RNG has something to it in, like, the design of the game where it's like if you have a shitty day, you'll turn around on the other side and have a way more productive day. But
Mm,
I have found in my playing that sometimes it's like, if I'm playing one evening and I'm just having, like, shit runs, if I turn the game off and I come back in a few hours or the next day, then and, like, right when I get to the point where I'm like, "I'm fucking done with this game, it's pissing me off so much,"
yeah.
then I'll have a huge breakthrough,
Oh,
and I'll finally get something that's really interesting and
interesting.
engaging, and I'll keep playing. And so I don't know if that's something that's actually baked into the design of the game,
Mm,
or if that's just the nature of, I wish I could remember who it was, but I saw someone online comparing the game to, like, your daily crossword puzzle. And I think it
mhm.
works really well in that sense of, like, this may not be a game that you wanna sit down and try to white knuckle, like, beast mode your way
Yeah.
through for, like, it doesn't necessarily lend itself well to marathon play, and I think you
No.
will probably burn yourself out if you try to go at it that way.
Yeah.
But if you play, like, 1 or 2 days of runs a night
Mhm.
and just steadily make progress, I think it works really well, and it's super engaging. And that onion of mystery that I referenced, like, each individual room, you'll draw a room for the first time, and you might take several minutes in that room, you comb over it, you think you found everything that there is to find in that room, and then hours, game days, many days later, you realize there's some other element in that room that you should have been taking note of, that
Yeah.
you didn't notice, but now all of a
Mhm.
sudden it matters, and that's a piece to a puzzle. That kind of stuff is super fucking cool.
Yes.
Every room, the first time you draw any room, you should be going over it with a fine tooth comb.
Mm,
And the game, like, there's no time limit. Like, we're saying each game day takes place. It really smartly doesn't put a time limit on that. And instead, what you have is a resource of steps. So each day you have so many steps. One step is burnt every time you walk into a new room. You can find things like there's a kitchen in the house. There's also sometimes just random fruit and stuff lying
mhm,
around, but you can find food that will increase your number of steps, that will add steps. There's also, the bedrooms. Anytime
mhm.
you draw a bedroom will increase your steps. Um, so things like that. There's also synergies to rooms that you start to uncover. For example, if you draw the nursery first, that gives you an additional 5 extra steps every time you enter a bedroom. So if you draw the nursery first and then you draw more bedrooms, you're gonna get an abundance of steps. Like,
Yeah.
there's these things you start to discover, and there is strategy to how you play the rooms. But you're still at the mercy of that RNG a little bit. So
Okay.
you said you're
Yeah.
like, what, 20 days
Mhm. Yeah.
in? you're
Yeah,
probably in that window where it's like, yeah, I was beating my head against the wall a bit in that range too, and I think it happens at different points for different people, but I do think if you continue to push through that, it
okay,
will it will move past that, and the best thing I can recommend is, like, don't just try to get to level 9.
okay.
Look for new rooms, like, anytime
Mm,
you have an opportunity to draw a room you've never been in before, it's almost preferable to draw that
just try it.
than
Yeah,
really worry about your run.
yeah.
Are you taking notes at all?
I'm resisting it, but I have
Yeah.
started jotting things down just because it's impossible not to. Like, there's just so much there's so many things in the details,
Mhm.
and even, like, um yeah, like art you see on the walls or, like, notes letters that you come across left sent by other people or, like,
Mhm.
I there's a like, a little sometimes you can find a little magnifying glass, and then once you find that magnifying glass, it's like when you do look at letters or postcards that you find littered around the property, and then you use the magnifying glass on them, there's, like, even more stuff hidden in these objects and images, and it's like, "Oh my god," like,
Mhm.
uh and those things might even be, like, solutions to other puzzles that you've encountered before, and it's like
Mhm.
so it just keeps going. It is quite the onion, as
Yeah.
Jamie said.
Yeah. It just keeps more and more things keep revealing themselves. Yeah, we didn't really talk about the items yet, but that is another random element to the game. There's a whole plethora of useful items that you can find around the house. There's the magnifying glass, there's a sledgehammer, there's a shovel, there's running sneakers. They all have different
Mhm.
perks that they give if you find that item, but again, because of the roguelike elements of the game, you don't get to keep any of that stuff
Right.
overnight. So if you find a magnifying glass on one run and you're able to really successfully use that and learn a bunch of new stuff, that's great, but you're not going to have it the next day.
Mhm.
Um like so one of the things that I heard this tip early on, and it's one of the first ways that I started taking notes, was writing down things that I want to do, like having
Mm.
a set of like side goals for yourself. Like, I want to bring a magnifying glass to the master bedroom because
Mm.
there's a book in there that has something
Mm.
tiny written in it that I can't read without one. So when I'm playing, if I happen to get a magnifying glass, suddenly this becomes a run where I want to try to draw the master bedroom. So I'm gonna try
Yeah.
to do things that I think are gonna help me draw purple, because that's a room which is color coded purple. The different room types have different color coding, and there are different strategies that you can employ to try to, like, get rooms of a certain color
Mm.
to be drawn. They have what in the game they have red, orange, yellow, purple, green, and blue rooms. Blue are like the basic rooms. There's way more blue rooms than there are anything else. But red rooms, they usually have a lot of doors, but they also come with some sort of negative consequence. Orange rooms are hallways, so they'll have a lot of doors, but not much else in them. Yellow rooms are stores. There's a kitchen, there's a commissary. You can like buy things that you need, but you do have to have coins to be able to buy stuff, which coins are another resource that certain rooms generate.
Mhm.
Um, Purple is bedrooms. Those tend to increase your steps. Occasionally, you can find items in them. Green rooms are like plant-based rooms. There's a greenhouse, terrace, stuff like that. Stuff that has some sort of element of the outdoors involved in it.
Mhm.
Um, and then, oh, sorry, I already talked about blue. But there's, um, teeing yourself up for certain colors of rooms. There's also you start to notice that certain rooms can only be drawn in certain areas, or you might find things in the game that explain how to get to a certain room, and it can only be done in a really specific way. Um, and then, so you're finding mystery clues about stuff like that, but you also find uh bits and pieces of like narrative about the family that's lived
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
There's so many items you can find that are just giving you details about the family and their history, And so that's part of now why I'm continuing to play is I think that there's more to uncover there. Like I really wanna
Mhm.
understand what happened. There's an author who went missing. It's you know, there's all this complicated family history, there's tension, you find this I found this journal where 2 kids were, like, arguing back and forth with each other, and I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure out who
yeah.
the 2 kids are.
Mhm.
Um, it's, you can find letters, there's books, there's actually a library room where you can check out books, that when you get into the
Mhm.
room, you can mark off what book you want to check out, and then the next day, the next time you find the room, the book will be there and you can read it, and they've written like, developers wrote whole books, like, there's just
Yeah.
whole ass books in there, like 10, 15 pages of information. You can find, like, little handwritten notes. You can also find, like, typed up staff memos. Like, the house has a whole the mansion has a whole staff. They've all been sent home for this period of time while Simon's here, like, exploring the house, but you can find staff memos that they left. You can find emails that they've written to each other. Um, there's also hanging art on the wall and portraits and pictures on desks and hidden messages tucked into all of these things to, like, figure
Mhm.
out. Um, and as you go on, you start to learn that the mansion isn't the only thing you can explore. There's more to it than just the 45 rooms on the blueprint. Um,
Right.
so it just keeps yeah, it's an onion. We keep belaboring
Yeah,
that, metaphor,
yeah.
but it really, has impressed me with how it's continued to grab my attention, especially after I start to get pissed with it, because especially
Mhm.
with the items, there's a handful of rooms are like, their resource that they give you is a X number of items. For example, there's a closet, and the closet's always gonna have 2 items in it. But you don't pick what those items are, you don't have any way to control what those items are, and it can be really frustrating when I'm like, "I really wanna get this particular item so that I can go to this particular room and do this particular thing that I'm interested in," and it's just run after run after run, and you can't make that happen.
Mhm.
So the longer your potential to-do list is, the easier it is to find ways to keep accomplishing those things and, like, feeling like you're crossing things off of your list. But, I have read a lot from people on the subreddits who they reach a point in the game where they've rolled credits, they've done so many of their goals that they had written down, and maybe they only have a handful left, and they're just not getting the
Yeah,
drafts that they need to
yeah.
make that happen, and they burn out on it
Mm.
because eventually you do get tired of pulling the exact same rooms in almost the exact same order, trying to get the same
Yep.
thing, and then eventually you run into a wall and you have to start over again. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's a careful line that the game walks, and I think it works for as long as it works. But I do feel like this is the kind of game where you'll be really into it and you'll play it and you'll play it and play it, and then eventually you're probably gonna hit a wall and that'll be the end of the game for you. But it's interesting to me that I personally have felt like I've hit that wall like 3 or 4 times, and then after a couple of days, something pulls me back to the game.
Yeah, I think it's spot on what you said about sort of treating it like a daily puzzle
Mhm.
instead of like a typical game that you wanna just sink into for hours at a time. Because I think
Mhm.
that's typically how you and I like to approach games is like, "This is my activity for the afternoon."
Mhm.
And it's like, this kinda game will destroy you if you try to play it that way, unless you're
Yeah.
like an insane person, then more power to you. But, like, I feel like, boycott the New York Times, like, get rid of
Play
Wordle, just
blueprints
play
blueprints instead.
Blueprints for 20 minutes every day, and in 6 months, maybe you'll have something to show for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's accurate. One of the final things I wanted to say about this game is how much it reminds me of Gone Home.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
Gone Home, not really a puzzle game at all. Like Gone Home, really like a pretty straightforward narrative game from several years ago. From developer Fulbright. Um, but one of the original, like the OG, like walking simulator games where you're just exploring a house on a stormy night, uh, pulling out, like, little notes and receipts and looking at calendars and piecing together the story of this family through the detritus of their lives. Um, and I feel like a lot of that DNA is in, like, how information and narrative is
Mm,
doled out in Blueprints. There's really no we talked about how much the writing is so integral to the gameplay experience and everything for your house. There's almost no narrative, like, really presented to you in a traditional way in Blueprints at all. Everything that you learn about the characters, about the story
yeah,
of what's happened to them is through finding items in the house, finding notes, reading letters, reading emails, all that stuff I mentioned before. Um, and I do really like that as a way to encounter a story when it's done well, and I think Blueprints does it really well. Um, but I think that's something that both Your House and Blueprints try to evoke. I think Blueprints more effectively, but the, like, inherent, um, I don't know, voyeuristic
mm,
excitement of rifling through somebody else's shit.
yeah.
And that being
Mm.
enough to, like, keep you engaging with the thing, like, I don't know why we as humans are so or I don't maybe not all humans
We're
are, but
so
I it's
nosy.
yeah, very nosy, and it feels, um yeah, it feels, kinda secret and illicit, to be, like,
Yeah,
digging through people's personal things in this way, and yet it's incredibly compelling.
yeah. Now, a small thing that I really love is that even, like you've mentioned earlier, the same rooms that you've may have drafted on previous days, it's like I think I was under the impression of like, "Oh, I already know what's in this room, like, I'll just grab my key and be on my way." But then it's like when you do pause and take a look around, you'll often there will be, like, new things, like, there might be, like, a chest that wasn't there before or, like, an extra item laying on a like, I something I realized is I was like, "Oh, I need to, like, look at everything," because a lot of times, like, I wouldn't realize that an item that I thought was just part of the decor of the room was actually something I could pick up and take with me, and
Mhm.
that opened up a lot for me. So, like, yeah, it rewards like, looking through someone's stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, it differently than Your House, the both games really rely on you to try to pick some like, to kind of, like, be
Yeah.
trying to engage with
Mm,
something in order to find out if you can or not. Um, Blueprints was very much made for a PC desktop experience or a console experience. So, at least in Blueprints, if you hover over a thing with your
yeah.
icon, it will show you a little hand symbol to show you can grab it,
Yes.
which was sorely missing from Your House, but that was designed, like, mobile first in mind.
Totally. Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Blueprints or even, what it was like to play these 2 games back to back?
Yeah, I think the main takeaway for me was just how Blueprints, um, kind of sustains that interest with, like, little things changing or just giving you permission to fail.
Mhm.
And almost encouraging it. I think I need that from a game like this because otherwise I'll just sort of hit that wall and be like, "I'm too dumb for this, like, I can't, I'm done."
Mhm.
Um, but 2, like, the fact that, like, there are these rooms, like, puzzle rooms, parlors, I think they're called, where, like, there will be a puzzle you have to solve, and once you've done that the first time, when you draw that same room again, it's a bit of like, "Oh, I know how to solve this one." And so it gives me that little boost of, I don't know, like, serotonin to be able to be like, "I'm a genius. I already know how to solve this. I can keep going." I don't know, it manages to scratch that itch of, like, making me feel confident enough to continue, and things feeling new each time that have made me go farther in any other puzzle game. Like, even The Witness, I think I got, like, 20 minutes into that, and I was like, "Nope,
Never
can't
never
do
played
it."
it. Never played it. All the conversation around it was enough for me to be like, "That probably is not for me."
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds pretty hard.
So
Yeah, I think Blueprints is, like, super accessible
mhm,
for a game of this type where I mean, you and I had kinda talked about maybe checking it out, and then I remember I sent you a tweet of somebody who was like, "Here's my notes from playing Blueprints," and it was just,
yeah,
like, pages and pages and pages of physical notes that they had taken while they were playing the game, and I was like, "Well, JK, like, I don't think Blueprints is for us," and you, like,
yeah,
agreed, and then when we were talking about maybe checking out your house, Blueprints came back into the conversation of like, "Oh, maybe that would be interesting to kind of pair those in a conversation." They're both puzzle games about houses.
mhm,
Um, and I think it's interesting that how accessible and I've ended up finding Blueprints and how much fun I've been having with it despite not I mean, even Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, I would not have played through by
no,
myself. I think
never.
that's and that game has puzzles in
Oh,
it.
oh, yeah.
Hard puzzles. Blueprints is more of a mystery game first, I
Mm,
think, than a puzzle game. I think there are puzzle elements to Blueprints, but I also think you can mostly solve anything that you need to in Blueprints just by being observant. It doesn't have the
yeah,
same, degree of intense logic puzzle that you need to be able to just think through as as you're going through something.
yeah,
It's way more about being observant and catching the the hidden things.
totally. Yeah.
Um, and that's what gives it that lovely onion quality and has got me sticking with it even past rolling credits and
Yeah, that's
really wanting
crazy to me because I remember that tweet, that first tweet where you were like where the
Yeah.
person was like, "Here's my 20-page journal," and you were and I were both like, "Nope."
Yep.
And then to hear you say, like, not only have you rolled credits, but you have your own
Yep.
pages of notes, and you're still
Yeah.
playing it? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well,
"Aw."
I recently got an iPad and I've been using, like,
Oh,
the
nice.
sketchbook
Yeah.
notes thing and on the iPad, and I have, like, the pen, and
Oh,
it's
cool.
been really nice to be able to use that, to be able to, like, delete
Yeah.
things that I don't need anymore out
Ooh.
of there, and I've got, like, a map of the house drawn out for one of the puzzles that I
Oh
was
my god.
solving, and, like, yeah, it's gotten intense, but I've also been, like, yeah, pairing it with that experience with the iPad, and I've been, like, really
That's
enjoying that,
awesome.
um, despite thinking that I certainly wouldn't be. I've gone full nerd mode.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. Um, but yeah, that's Blueprints, that's Your House, 2 really interesting games that both kind of, like, touch on this same kind of human desire to rifle through people's shit and be
Mhm.
nosy.
Be nosy, play
Yep,
blueprints,
exactly.
and your house. Play
We'll s
blueprints in your house.
play blueprints in your house. And your house. In your yeah, I get what you're doing there. Spencer, thanks for staying awake for this podcast. But time is up for today's session of Pixel Therapy. Spencer needs to go back to bed.
I do.
Thank you for all for tuning in, and we hope that listening to our thoughts and feelings gave you some thoughts and feelings of your own. If you want more pixel therapy in your life, you can come check us out at patreon.com/pixeltherapypod, where you can sign up for free to stay up to date on everything we have going on, find an archive of all of our content, and even read occasional blog posts about games we don't find time to talk about on the podcast. You should also check out and subscribe to the Pixel Therapy Pod YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/at Pixel Therapy Pod, where you can find live recordings of all our episodes, as well as an archive of our past streams. And be sure to support the show by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That stuff is just as important, and we appreciate it just as much.
Finally, since we like to put our money and our energy where our mouth is, we end every episode with a recommended side quest. I just want to plug Operation Olive Branch. Continue to, because we have to continue talking about and keeping eyes on what's happening in Palestine. Um, Folks still need help and support now more than ever. Operation Olive Branch is a grassroots collective effort to amplify Palestinian voices and folks' GoFundMe's. So you can visit them at tinyurl.com/OPOliveBranch to learn more, or visit their Instagram page at Operation Olive Branch. That's tinyurl.com/OPOliveBranch.
Thank you for that side quest, Spencer. That is our show for today, folks. So go forth, run a story mission, level up some stats, and don't forget to hug an NPC every now and then. We'll be back oh so soon with some more
Pixel
Pixel
therapy.
Therapy. Bye.